I have a newspaper for today, and today is August 31st. So this news first broke out 2 days ago, on the 29th of August. So it was reported that a female elementary school teacher who is 32 years old had sexual relationship with a 12-year-old male student, and they had sex 9 times in the classroom and in her car. And the police stated that the female teacher and the male student first met at an extracurricular activity class in June. So that was about 2 months ago. And the teacher said to the police that she instantly had a crush on the student and she's in love with the student. The student also said that there was no violence, there was no coercion or force in the relationship, and he said he liked the teacher. So the news broke out. The whole thing happened when the elementary school students' parents came to read their son's text messages in his smartphone, and they found a naked woman's photo in the student's smartphone. And the parents reported to the school and to the police, and this shocking news broke out. And for the past 2 days, the news first came out on the 29th, and for the past 2 days, everybody has been talking about it on Facebook, in Korea, and almost all news media outlets that I can imagine, and talked about it with length. So we've been hearing this kind of news that there are sexual relations between teachers and students all over the world, but one of the important factor is the age of consent. In Korea, the age of consent is 13 years old. So this case is criminal by nature because the female teacher is 32 years old and the male student is only 12 years old. So the male student is lower than the age of consent. And it does not matter whether the student gave consent or not, because even if the relationship is voluntary, and even if the student gave consent to the relationship, it does not matter because the age of consent is 13 years old and the student is too young for that. So we have history in Korea. There's history of this inappropriate relationship between students and their teachers. In 2012, a 30-year-old male teacher had sex with a 12-year-old female student, and he got 8 years in jail because the female student was lower than the age of consent, which is again 13 years old. In 2012 case, the teacher and female student actually said that they're in a loving relationship and that they're in love, but it did not matter because it was lower than the age of consent. In 2010, a 35-year-old female teacher had sex with a 15-year-old male student. She was a teacher at the public school. It was a public middle school, but she was not prosecuted. She was not criminally liable because the student was over 13 years old, which is the age of consent. So she did not get any punishment. Probably she could have been fired, but I do not know the facts. But the fact is that she was not prosecuted. So in this case, in Gyeongsang Province, this 32-year-old female teacher has been fired, and that's for sure. But she is now indicted, and she is expected to have a heavy jail time once she gets into trial. So there's 2 things that I observed after the news first broke out. 1, cybertailing, and 2, sexism. And cybertailing, a lot of people actually Googled the female teacher's name and the name of the elementary school and the female teacher's private information and family status, and everything has been disclosed on the internet ever since. It's been only 2 days, and a lot of netizens went after the fact, and the news media are, I think, partially, in my opinion, the news media are partially liable, responsible for this because they give too many details about the teacher and the student. So I even got that. I got the teacher's photos and multiple photos. I got the teacher's name, and I got the name of the school, of course, and then I got the exact location of the school and when that happened and when it happened. So there's a lot of cyber-tailing going on, and cyber-tailing is problematic all over the world, but in Korea I think it's a little more pronounced. Two, there was unusually heavy criticism, and I think one of the reasons is due to the aggressor's gender. Here in this case, the aggressor is a female teacher, and a lot of people say that, and how can a teacher with husband and children can commit this kind of crime? And a TV anchor, when he reported this news, and actually said that she had a husband and children and family members, and how can she do this when she had family members? So what she did could be morally blameworthy or probably criminally liable, but still it's irrelevant whether she had a husband or children. So when in the past, when the Korean news media reported this kind of sex crimes between teachers and students, when the aggressor is a male teacher, they don't really talk about their family status, whether they had family member, whether they had a wife, whether they had children. They don't really talk about that kind of private information. But in this case, almost all news media disclosed the fact that she had family members, and people highly criticize her for that. One thing you can think about is when you blame somebody for a crime, and I think the basic assumption must be that you should be genuinely concerned about the well-being of the victim. Otherwise, what are you criticizing? Then here, I don't really think it was inconvenient for me. That I don't really think that a lot of people are not really concerned about the well-being of the boy, of the male victim. I never come across a single comment on Facebook talking about the boy's status, the boy's well-being. They don't talk about it. They just blame the female teacher. So what good does it do? And that was my question. So there was unusually heavy criticism. Pretty much every single news media outlet talked about it, and a lot of people talked about it. I saw thousands of comments and reactions to the articles and postings related to this crime, and there was sexism going on, and there's a lot of cyber-tailing going on. So that was it.